So, yes, elfdalian is not a language, and it should not be considered a language. And I will now explain why. So, elfdalian is this Swedish dialect that is spoken in Dalarna, in Sweden. And it has gained some international fame because it is considered to be the most different and most difficult to understand for a standard Swedish speaker. And there's this whole thing around it. But a lot of that is just complete misunderstanding, and I will now explain how things actually are. So, let us start. Let me do a quick thing first with the name elfdalian, which is a terrible translation of the name. In Swedish it is called elfdalska, which if I would translate would be, it is made out of the words elv, dal, and ska. Elv means river, dal means valley, and ska is a suffix approximately equivalent to the English suffix ish. So a direct translation would be river valley-ish. So why it was translated as elf is beyond me. Okay, so that's the name now. Now, the other one, that elfdalian, is very often it's spoken about like it's this island of practically just Old Norse that is completely unique and that has no equal anywhere else, which is also completely wrong, and I will get to that in my next argument. So, and now to the main point. Elfdalian should not be considered its own language. And let me illustrate my point by doing a little bit of a thought experiment. Let us say that elfdalian got language status. That would be great for them. But let us zoom out a little bit and look at the area around Erdal. In the surrounding areas around Erdal, they speak the closest relatives to elfdalian, and they all are just as incomprehensible for a standard Swedish speaker. So, why then should elfdalian get language status if all the other ones don't? That would make no sense at all. So let's say that someone realizes that and gives all the other ones language status as well. So you have one larger language group that you can call perhaps elfdalian or something. Okay, that would make a lot more sense, but then you have that a language or a group of languages that previously were considered dialects of Swedish are now their own languages because they are difficult to understand for a standard Swedish speaker. So if the dialects in Dalarna get language status, then why should not, for example, a bunch of the northern dialects get language status? In the northern part of Sweden, let's do from the north and down. At the very northern tip of the traditionally the North Germanic language is spoken up to Överkalix. And in Överkalix they speak what is called Överkalixmål, which is whenever someone ranks incomprehensible dialects in Sweden, it's usually number 1 elfdalian, number 2 Överkalixmål. It is also very different and difficult to understand for a standard Swedish speaker. And so are a lot of the other dialects spoken in the northern third of Sweden. So if the argument for getting language status is only that a standard Swedish speaker does not understand it immediately, then all of those should also logically get language status. And then also you have Gutnish, which is spoken on Gotland, which is also one of these difficult to understand for a standard Swedish speaker dialects. And Gutnish specifically is in a very interesting situation because it is known that Gutnish has a completely separate development from Old Norse. It is not part of the West Norse, East Norse thing, but it's its entirely own branch. And they have they have their own medieval literature and an entirely separate cultural or whatever sphere or something. So Gutnish has probably the best argument for being considered its own language, even more so than elfdalian or the Dalecarlian languages or the northern Swedish dialects. And well, I have seen that Gutnish has been mentioned internationally occasionally, but not nearly as much as Elfdalian. So, now you know. Elfdalian is not unique. That's what you should remember. And there are many dialects that I have not mentioned specifically they all are very different from standard Swedish. But giving language status to all of them would just be a very difficult thing to do, because all of Scandinavia is just one big dialect continuum. Drawing exact lines from a linguistic standpoint is impossible. So you might as well just not. Now, it's not that I want Elfdalian to die. I want Elfdalian to live on, but Elfdalian is taking all the spotlight from almost everyone else. And Elfdalian is just one out of dozens or even hundreds of dialects that all deserve to live on. But as I have argued for, language status is probably not the way to go.